This is the new edition, the new summer edition of Collector's Corner. I'm Judy Owen, and I am an appraiser, and I am here with my friend Bobby Lurch. And Bobby has a few things that she would like to share with everyone. And we're just inside the entry hall now, and I spotted this wonderful Flow Blue cup and saucer. And I want to talk about that first. Tell me, how did you get this cup and saucer?
This had been in the family for quite a while, and my mother-in-law discovered it probably in the basement where it might have been put away because they had something else in place of it. And when they moved from their home to a smaller location, we were lucky enough to get a lot of these antiques.
I found out, and being in this business almost 40 years, you think I would have heard this before, but they don't call this a teacup, they call it a tea bowl because it is handleless. You'll notice on the cup and saucer next to it, of course, we have a nice handle, which most of them do. But in early days, back before the 1900s, tea was poured into the handleless cup and then into the saucer. And that saucer is nice and deep, much deeper than these newer saucers. And then you actually drank from the saucer. So I did a little research. First of all, I had never seen a ship like that. And so I found that it's called a paddle frigate. And chances are 9 to 10 with that American flag on it, that it is Commodore Perry's black ship that was used in 1852 on his trip to Japan. The mark itself on the back would date it between 1865 and 1907. Now, the minute I saw this piece, I said, well, Bobby, this is Sheridan style. This is not really Sheridan. And I looked at the piece, and I was going to show her how these were all machine dovetailed. But indeed, it was not machine dovetailed. They were hand dovetailed. So I said, okay, well, in that case, I will show her by feeling the bottom of the drawer, because the bottom of the drawer will tell me. And it should be a nice, flat piece of wood. But indeed it was not. It is a chamfered, hand-chamfered piece of wood. So now I'm very confused. So now I say to Bobby, okay, Bobby, tell me the story on this because I am confused.
I was about ready to say surprise.
Yes.
For that. The chest, yes, was made by someone in Pennsylvania, but the wood came from my mother-in-law's family home in Treichler's, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So the wood is antique wood, but this is not quite that.
Okay, well that answers it. That is the mystery solved. So even though we're looking at a design from 1810, we have figured by using her husband's age, going back 20 years to the grandparents' age, and figuring that this probably was made around 1890. Well, next we have another piece from the Lehigh Valley area of Pennsylvania. We have a all-cherry work table. Now, quite often, these tables would come with a fabric bag that hung underneath, and they were used for storing sewing supplies. This one does not, but that's okay. It's a lovely piece. Tell me the story on this.
This is another surprise, and I'm back to my mother-in-law. Apparently the original top was not up to par.
I see.
So she knew someone who would make a top that would make this look brand new, and this is what happened to the top.
I see. It's a beautiful job of replacing it. The color and the patina are perfect. But again, it's just a little too crisp, a little too square. When I walked in, Bobby brought me in just to see this as an afterthought before I left. She said, would you like to see a few other things? And I walked in and saw this and I went, oh. I started in the antique business in 1962 in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And I have never seen a tall case clock marked Allentown. This was made by Charles Massey, Charles S. Massey, of the borough of Allentown. It is an absolutely beautiful piece. We start up at the top. They call this a break arch top with the turned finials. And then we look at the face. The face is all tin, and it is all hand painted. Interesting, they've used seashells in the quadrants here around the edge, and then a basket of flowers up at the top, which is mindful of the theorems that were being made in that particular time period. On the sides, we have a glass window here, so that if you wanted to check the works inside, you would peek in there. So I did a little research. I asked Bobby what she knew, and you told me then?
Couldn't find a thing.
Couldn't find a thing. So I started working on it, and she said, oh, don't worry about it, it's not necessary. I said, it's necessary for me. I've got to find out what this is. So I have paperwork. I spent some time on this. Charles Massey was indeed a clockmaker in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Now, one of the questions she had for me was, did he make the whole clock? And my answer is probably not. Clockmakers worked normally in a small town, and they had what they called a cottage industry. The man that was making the cabinets for these clocks was most likely making coffins. They also made the clock bases. I enjoyed this so much, and I enjoyed my research, and she certainly has appreciated it.
Oh, I have, because I've learned things that I
Right.
didn't know before, especially about the clock.
Right. So I'm very happy to do this for anybody that
So
lives
am I.
in Shell Point. And you must have something that you're wondering about, and just give Emily Rose or myself a phone call. I'm in the directory, and we'd be glad to put you on the schedule.